Welcome, welcome. This is Vincent Fink coming at you live from the home studio, and it's a little disorienting. It's weird. I like being in coming at you in the real studio at Winter Street, but this is where we're at right now. Okay. Look, in all honesty, ever since the fire at the arson fire that burned down a lot of people's studios and destroyed a ton of artwork, as well as damaging some of mine. Yes, that kind of led me to, as they were rebuilding for most of that next year, I got used to working at home. So here I am in my room, where there's also like a weight bench and all this other crap. This is like, a multi-purpose room, you could say. But I also am a musician, so of course there's some musical instruments there, guitars and bass and icons. But yeah, so anyways, we're in the studio at home today, and I'm exploring some 5-point perspective. Why can't I figure out where the button is to switch my view? Let me see here. Camera settings. Here we go. Cool. So we're going to pop you in here. Wait a minute. What am I doing? Yeah, there we go. We're going to pop you in here. Are we all good? Okay, good. Got you up in here. I'm going to readjust my cameras just a moment. I hope this isn't too hard to see, because I know that it's quite a detailed little drawing going on here, but basically what we got going on this piece of paper is a pencil drawing a sketch in 5-point perspective, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit of just the basics of how to do it 5-point perspective drawing effectively, and how to puff on any of your smoke or vapor devices in the process as you pontificate upon the current state of the world. Because as an artist, it is your duty to understand your place in history and in society. So your art should reflect something of the sort. Even if you are creating dream worlds, as I am, I do feel that the dream world is a reflection of the real world. So this one right here is a 5-point perspective, as I mentioned. If you're not familiar with perspective drawing, this is probably not the video for you, unless you just want to really dive into the deep end. But basically, yes, you start with 1-point perspective, and you move your way up all the way to 5 and 6, and I guess I'm assuming there could be infinite. I don't know, but 5's enough for me, and yeah. So you start with the 1 point, and then there's the 2 point that eliminates the 1 point, and you would just have the 2 points, the left and the right. That's a 2-point perspective. Then you have 3-point perspective, where you just have the 2 points, and then you've added a top perspective where things start creating a little bit of that distortion, illusion of depth. But then you also have the 4-point where you've just reflected that, and that starts getting you this fisheye effect. And then 5-point really creates the fisheye, though, because then we've introduced back the original 1 point. So it's kind of a 4-point plus a 1 point to give you the 5-point perspective. And so they all recede back into that main perspective point at the center. That's at least the basics of it. I'm sure you can get more wacky with it if you want, and I should probably try that in the future. I always feel like bending the rules is always fun and appropriate when art making. Give me 1 second here, and I'm about to start drawing. Who here's an artist? Let me know in the comments. do you enjoy drawing? Have any of you ever tried doing like a detailed drawing like this? It's kind of daunting, but I will say that once you've kind of developed, I guess, some of the rules to the drawing, then it becomes kind of fun and therapeutic in a way, because you really can just explore a world that you're creating it. It's an interesting thing. And so that's what's kind of going on right now, is I'm just allowing myself to fill in some of the lines of the things that I think are actually staying, but we're not totally there. There's certainly like an urge for me to, I don't know, let something sprout out right here. And I don't know what this is, but I feel like we need something arcing right here. Maybe this is some public art, or maybe it's a tree or something, but we need that. Let's see, then we can use this thin eraser here to kind of cut through some of those lines ahead of time and just make sure that we're kind of getting the illusion of whatever this is, this layering on top. And that's why it's always good to kind of sketch it first, because especially if you're wanting to do something like where you might find yourself moving between the foreground and the background and midground areas, and it's not a bad idea to give yourself the ability to make mistakes and easily correct them. A lot of people see ink drawings and they're astounded, and there certainly is a lot of danger, right, to mess up a lot more with ink. And honestly, I'm prone to it, so I try to eliminate as much of that as I can with the planning stage. And so let's see here. I find myself wanting to explore this area down here a little bit. Maybe we can hone in on it for a second. Kind of towards where the main alley is. Now, it is a fairly narrow alley, so it's not really a main street, I would say. But perhaps this is a small town turned large with its towering architecture. I feel like there's somebody here. Yeah, I guess maybe she might have a dress, because it kind of just flowed out like that. Let's get that a little better though. She kind of started looking a bit choppy there. All of a sudden decided it's a female in that dress, and therefore she needs some elegant lines there. Okay, better. And maybe there's like a little like slug-like or something type thing kind of following her. I don't know why. This is where it becomes a bit more fun. Fill in some more of this architecture as she's approaching there. And you kind of start thinking about this little space and what all could be going on. And I suppose this building's creating quite a small space for a sidewalk. We're going to have to kayfabe that a little bit. Oh, fuck it. We're going to do this. This isn't a street. Yeah. This is not like a street. This is definitely just an alleyway of some sort, or a one lane. Suppose it's a one laner. Could be. And is this even a time period when there is automobiles? Or does that even matter? Interesting questions. Interesting questions indeed. And I feel like this thing here is actually like this weird larva float different from a dragon float in this alternate timeline, even though we are in some kind of ancient Chinese kind of street celebration scene. There is not the same iconography. In this alternate timeline, they are hailing the great Lord Worm, this nickname they've given to a larva, a mythical god who actually rules over them. Oh, and he's not a myth, actually. He actually exists. At least as it seems. They say that, well, they parade him through the streets in a large box, kind of like a palanquin, which is basically the Asian version of a English ladder or a carriage, a human drawn carriage where people are lifting it, usually using like long rods and sticks. And so, yeah, it's kind of that kind of deal, you know. Used to happen a lot in the olden days before they had sedans. And actually, I think that, well, you know, I think they even originally, the word sedan, right, comes from like the sedan chair that would be royalty would be sitting on, and people were carrying them. Much like this thing that I'm talking about. This thing's just bigger than a chair. It's not just a chair. It's more like you got a chair inside this whole ass room that people are carrying around in your little frickin' room. So, anyways, I'm just having fun here, you know, building textures. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but, you know, obviously, this is, as you see what I'm doing here, is I first built a tube-like shape, and then now I've kind of built this texture on top of it by just kind of creating these crisscross patterns because I wanted this thing to look more like lumpy, I guess. And there, if you look at a larva, they have this kind of weird crossing clumpy, fleshy thing going on. It's kind of creepy and gross. And yeah, so I'm using that as kind of a guide as to what I'm imagining these people were able to tap into when they were creating their giant float type thing. It's actually starting to look a little creepy and realistic, which is fine. Like, I don't even know. Maybe this is a real one. I don't think so, though. So, in this crazy ancient Chinese kind of style street scene, the reason why it is that way is that's just how it was in the dream I had. So, it just led me there, and I follow the dream, you know? I don't really question these things. When the universe says do something, you just do it, right? This is again just some quick visual cues, but I could get more detailed into this architectural element here of these very ornate ancient Chinese dogong, as they call these cornering, these like cross hatching of wood plane. They're cut up in such amazing little knot-like structures that uh, resist earthquakes. It's actually the part of the. It's how they're able to build things without nails or anything, and the buildings kind of shift and can kind of just adapt. It's amazing. It's quite amazing. And I like that idea too, you know. So that maybe that I play on that idea a bit, and I just think about that now, and I'm like, what if these buildings were able to just shift and adapt on their own to like, I don't know, maybe they just could like grow their own little new appendage out there, right? Like seemingly a little bit out of place. Boom, boom, you know, like that. Boom, another few just for fun, because I mean, if you were an adaptive building. Let's get back up here. You weren't even seeing what I was talking about. I was building all this up here. I was like blowing out all these kind of chops there, and I actually like how that looks. That's roughly following some perspective there. Yeah, starting to see some interesting forms, as we should. Here's more interesting forms. Try not to cut through lines if I know it's supposed to be behind already, if I can help it. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So we got some massive towering objects. This is par for the course. And we have some impossible geometry showing up just by my sheer ridiculousness. I just started drawing things out, thinking about where they were actually pulling from. So that's kind of cool, though. We'll rock that out. I actually kind of want this building to end, though. I don't want them all to just be so giant. So actually, that's going to be like a building of something else behind it, I think. And everything recedes back to this perspective point. See, we're always kind of just following this light grid that I drew, and it's the guide. You just stick to the guide, and everything will be all right. And you don't even have to stick super close to it unless you really want things to be like perfect. But in this drawing, not so much for me. I'm just happy to be drawing right now. It's kind of got into a block after my mom died earlier this year in April, and it was just like, yeah, dealing with that. Her being the second parent to die. So my dad had died quite a while back, not too long ago, actually, 2017. So, anyways, it is what it is, man. But you'll deal with it, and unfortunately, sometimes some things get you down a little bit longer than they should. But art is always a friend, and anytime I've been able to pick up the pencil or the brush along the way has been rewarding and therapeutic. Holy crap. Once again, I'm drawing in an area where you're not watching. I wish I had I need to get some kind of freaking AI phone thing that can keep up with my hand movements. My phone says it's about to die because I didn't think, or I had not moved my charger. Let me see if I can get the charger going and if we can salvage the screen. Yeah, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, though. I think we're going to cut this one now because I have a million fucking situations to figure out now because I just realized my phone's about to die. And I'm not set up for more. Hey, but this is looking pretty cool. I turned my light off. You can still see it pretty good, I think. Yeah. Finally. We're just having fun here, folks. Here. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yes. Yes, sir. Fuck on. Okay. Fucking lights back on. Oh, the joys. The joys. Yeah, so it's filling in. See, this egg is turning into something. There's more there than there was before when we started. So you've seen a little bit of the progress. I think we're starting to see how this might pan out. Man, all right. We're gonna try another one of these here in just a moment. I'm gonna just I gotta keep doing these live streams so I can at least figure out what to do. But I'm not too convinced that I'm gonna do many more of these through the Rumble app, as there's absolutely no control. But other than that, I guess for a quick, straightforward shot kind of thing like I did here, it's not too bad. Probably use it more for like once I get my new iPhone and I have better audio. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. I hope you maybe picked up something, and I don't even remember what happened, but maybe as you review it, there's something good in there. And we're going to do another one soon, and it'll get even better. So stay tuned, folks. All right. Peace out. Please wait for me to find how to fucking end this.